All right. Good evening. It's Monday, December 1st, 2025 at 6:26 p.m. And I am calling the meeting of the Board of Education, Groton Board of Education curriculum meeting to order. The first item or the second item on our agenda after the call to order is to review the November 3rd, 2025 meeting minutes. So would anyone like to make a motion to accept the minutes?
I can't do that because I didn't read them. I haven't had access to my computer for a long time.
All right. All right. So we don't have a motion to approve the minutes, but maybe we can talk about the minutes. Because I just had a couple of comments. Um, but does anyone else have any comments on the minutes? I guess that would be you, Mike.
Yeah, one comment I have is just looking back, um, in the agenda for this is a November 3rd meeting. If you look online, we've got the agenda, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 points. But then there were presentations made, and that material isn't in the minutes, and it's not in the agenda. It's not like there are any links or anything. So I guess since it's not in the agenda, the way to put those PowerPoints or whatever, those slides, would be to append them to the minutes. That's one thing. And then to find an appropriate way to um, give the information that was emailed to us in the supplemental handout, too. But basically, get the supporting information in the record.
All right. I would support both of those. I think that the presentations, we've had some really good presentations, and obviously somebody can go back and watch the video, but if the slideshow of that presentation is available, the PowerPoint screens, we should just attach them in the meeting like we do for the board meetings and it's done for for other, for policy and the business meetings and stuff. So I would support that. And yeah, I mean, I know in that meeting we talked about having some of the data from the scores in there where we can, um, you know, as well protecting student privacy. Um, and I believe we talked about that in the meeting on November 3rd. So if we could have some kind of detail into that. Um, do you know what we're talking about, Anne Marie?
I do. I can share with you the presentation that was made by Principal Brown, but I cannot share publicly the information from the supplemental handout. The supplemental handout was not referenced during the meeting. And as you know, I have some serious concerns about student data privacy. And there are some very strict rules about student data privacy that I have looked into since that meeting, that I can share with you at another point. But I am basically not allowed to post that information.
All right. Yeah, I was talking about some version of that information to get the information across in a way that can be done while because I think that we did discuss some scores and stuff, and it's just some general categories, a way of categorizing it, or making categories or something like that where we could maintain student privacy while also showing some of that data. So maybe we can talk about that separately and just meet on that. But I would like to see at least something about that you referred to in the meeting minutes.
Yeah, and that's what Principal Brown did. If you recall from his presentation, he did things by category or by subject rather than by specific course. So happy to happy to link that presentation and we can begin doing that, moving forward like we do for the board meetings. Surprised that, obviously we know that I work with an executive assistant who does that. So I probably was not specific with her in asking her to do that in the same way that we do the board meetings. And I will make sure that I'm more specific in asking her to link those presentations moving forward. We'll make sure that that's done. And yeah, I think that that's very easy for us to do.
In
All right.
in this instance, I think the easiest thing with those presentations is just to have them appended to the minutes, um, and maybe in other cases as well. As far as the supplemental handouts, um, in terms of freedom of information, because they were shared with us as a committee, they are subject to FOI. But I think, but regardless of that, I think the extra information that supplemental handout gave, as well as detailing by class, and I understand the numbers per class are too small, probably, but it gave that distribution, for instance, of AP scores like 1 through 5 or IB, I think 1 through 7. And that was additional information I think that could be captured in a summary. For instance, with the IB courses, there's high level and standard level. Just have that 1 through 7 and just put the count or the percentage or whatever you will, just for all the classes, all the high levels grouped together, all the standard levels grouped together. And then for the AP, there were already those categories in the presentation, but and keep those categories and just give us the number of ones or the percent of ones, twos, threes, fours, fives there. There's the ECE, I think there's not as much need for additional information on that because it's pretty clear. The main points were very, very clear from the presentations themselves. But that grade distribution is helpful, not just the above threes, for instance, for the AP.
Yeah, so that report, the supplemental handout did not have any, it only had AP information, if I recall, did not have any IB or EC information.
It had IB as well. There were two separate documents. Yeah, I think.
I don't recall that, but I can go back and look.
Unless
I know Mr. Brown specifically presented all of the information, like a comprehensive look at the performance, but I believe that supplemental handout only had AP.
I have it here. We
Yep.
we had two supplemental handouts and one
Yeah.
for AP and one for
Oh,
IB.
one had the IB, that was separate. Okay, thank you for reminding me.
Yeah, but maybe we can just meet and find out a way that can be, like cognizant of the law, but also get some of that information out. And
Oh,
then
and one further thought is that if we are thinking that distribution is okay to put in, that could easily be written in to the minutes. Just as it could be a short table, or it could be it probably is a short table, honestly, for each one.
Well, let's speak afterwards so that I'm not replicating the presentation.
No,
Because
this wouldn't.
that's right now what it kind of sounds like that's what you're asking for.
I'm not asking for that because the presentation didn't include the grade distribution. It included grades above a certain threshold. It may have included an average grade for one of the categories, but it didn't include that grade distribution. I think that's really important information to have.
all right. So the presentations, including something on the grade distribution on AP and IB, and then I also made some comments about what to give people examples of what of how successful we are in these classes being accepted at UConn specifically. And I think the numbers I gave were I don't have to give the exact percentage, but we'll say less than 10% would have been acceptable credits towards IB, approximately 25% of acceptable credits for AP, and then I think it was 95% for ECE, where they would be transferable to UConn for credit. All right, and then we could just put that on the, is there any other comments on the minutes?
No. No.
All right, so we'll just put that on the next curriculum committee to go over these minutes again. All right, so with no further discussion on the minutes, let's move on to review of the honors and advanced level credit quality points. So we have, and please correct me if I'm missing somebody, but Matt Brown, Carmita Hodge, are on the webinar in addition. And I'm just going to say right now, I should have done this at the beginning, who's here, but Mike Whitney, Dr. Andrea Ackerman, and myself, Adrian Johnson, and Anne Marie Mancini, if I didn't say that already. Is there anyone else on the meeting, Anne Marie?
Amy McKenna is.
All right, and Amy McKenna. All right.
Thank you. Yes, I'm here.
All right. So who's gonna start off this? I think we have a presentation for this, correct?
Yes, and if you give me a second, I will share it. And I think this is going to be a joint effort in terms of presenting. Oops. Okay, hopefully everyone can see this. Can I get a yes or no?
Yeah,
Yep.
I can
Yes.
see it.
Great. Thank you. All right, so just going to start off by saying that I've worked with the high school team on looking at I'd say per some members of this committee's request. The high school team and I looked at advanced level credit and I guess you would call them quality points, the scale that exists currently at the high school. And as a result of that, we developed this presentation. And the graphic here on the front page is from the program of studies. Obviously, that is a key document in creating this presentation. So the agenda today, we're going to be going over the quality point scale that currently exists at Fitch High School. We are going to look at, obviously as a part of this, preparing for this presentation, we looked at IB schools in Connecticut in terms of their quality point scales. We looked at other high schools in Southeast Connecticut because we need to kind of look at how our students are being compared, not only other IB schools, but other schools that are similar to ours here in Connecticut, comprehensive high schools. We'll do a little summary at the end. And because the referral tracker is on the agenda, that's something that's separate from this presentation, but I included as a slide. So we'll look at that later on. So need to kind of, okay. So the existing quality point scale at Fitch High School looks like this. All honors courses are given an additional 0.5 weight. All AP, IB, and ECE courses are given an additional 1.0. So you can see here, cut and pasted the what this looks like for students as they take additional, I guess you would say, advanced level coursework at Fitch High School. And I'm gonna invite Principal Brown or any of the other members of the Fitch leadership team to make any comments here on anything that's on this slide.
I think you did a good job. I don't know if you guys have any questions on the slide, but I think it's pretty clear.
Okay.
I had a very quick one.
Yep.
The ECE, that's early college experience, that's associated with UConn. I know that with the increase in dual enrollment, we're getting some ECSU courses, which is great. Would that count in that same category? Basically, is that
Yes.
ECE really
Yeah,
dual
that's a good
enrollment?
question. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's actually should say dual enrollment. Actually, it's not
Mhm.
just ECE, but also those classes from Eastern and
Right,
any
three others.
CCP or any other college level credit. Thank you for asking that. So one of the things that we did was we started to look at other districts to see what are they doing just to make sure that our students aren't getting any advantages or disadvantages, I guess you would say. And so the first thing that I did was look at what are other schools that have IB programs, either with school within a like IB school within a school, which is what Fitch is, or full IB schools. there are two schools that are full IB schools, and that's the Connecticut IB Academy, otherwise known as CEBA, that's located in East Hartford, and the Academy of International Studies, which is a CREC magnet school. And so you can see here, CEBA is, as I just mentioned, a full IB school. They have courses, their courses for 9th and 10th graders, which are their MYP courses, get a 0.5 quality point rating, while their DP courses get a 1.0. Right now, well, not even right now, that school has been open since 99. And there is no current distinction, or there's no distinction between the IB, HL, and SL levels, either at the DP level. Let me talk about the other school that is a full IB school, which is also a magnet school. It's the Academy of International Studies by CREC, also a full IB school. It also has a middle school component to it. Their honors and IB SL courses get a 0.25 quality rating, while their IB HL courses get a 0.5 quality rating. There are three schools in Connecticut that have what they call a school within a school program. Those are Valley Regional High School, which is Region 4, consisting of Deep River, Essex, and Chester. Their courses, IB courses, get a 1.2 quality rating, and there's no distinction between the IB, HL, and SL levels. Brian McMahon High School in Norwalk, their honors courses get a 0.5. AP and IB get a 1.0 with no distinction between the IB, HL, and SL levels. And finally, Guilford High School, honors courses get a 0.25, AP, IB, and ECE courses get a 0.5 with no distinction between the IB, HL, and SL levels. Does anyone have any questions on this slide?
You have a quick one. I'm familiar with the IB, HL, SL. There's some courses that are, I guess, just IB. Is career pathways like another? Do they have HL, SL too? I'm just wondering if that's going to be another category of IB
Well,
that
no,
consider.
Mike, I can answer that one. If they're in the career program, then part of that component is taking IB courses, and they may be HL or SL, but the courses, the program is different than the courses. As part of the program, the career program, they're taking IB courses, if that makes sense. They're required to take a certain amount, like at least 4 IB courses, but the courses themselves are all labeled HL or SL.
Okay, I thought maybe there's some IB classes that didn't have that HL or SL on it, like maybe theory of knowledge or something, but I'm not sure on that.
Yeah, I'm not sure with theory of knowledge I don't think it's an HL course.
Yeah, it's just
I think
considered
it would be
a
an
course
SL.
within IB, within the program.
I believe it would be SL, but
The next thing that we did was we looked at Southeastern Connecticut high schools, because again, I think that colleges look at those, not only what type of program you offer, but they also look at high schools in your area when they're kind of considering a student. And so I went to the U.S. News and World Report from 2025 that was released. It's usually released in April, late April, I think. And I looked at what are the high schools that ranked above Fitch, to see, okay, what kind of programs, how do they assign quality points to the students in their schools? Because I just wanted to see, how that would impact our students. And so I looked at, I believe, 8 different schools. Yes, 8 different schools that are ranked above Fitch currently. And they are Marine Science, Lime Old Lyme, East Lyme, and Stonington, and there are 4 more on the other pages. So Marine Science, which is a Learn school, offers ECE and AP courses, and you can see how they kind of assign quality points to their students. Old Lyme looks like, obviously, one of the things I learned here is that everyone does things a little different in terms of their quality point rate, quality points and how they assign them. And then also, obviously, their scale, their GPA scale. You would see anything ranging from, maybe like a 5.0 scale to something like on the lower end might be like a 4.0. You can see here East Lyme goes 0.15. Stonington, is more on the conservative, similar to what Fitch does, like a 0.5 versus a 1.0. And the next four high schools are Haddam, Killingworth, which is otherwise known as Region 17. That should probably say honors 0.3. I apologize for missing the decimal point there. You've got Daniel Hand in Madison. Similar, it's kind of similar to what Fitch has, except that freshmen don't get any weighted courses at all. You've got Westbrook with a 1.05 versus a 1.10. And Waterford High School, which offers, of course, standards, honors, and advanced level courses for AP, ECE, and CCP, which is if you're taking a course at one of the community colleges. In this school, adds quality points to students taking the honors and advanced level courses in only the 5 academic areas or core academic areas: English, math, social studies, science, and world language. Does anyone have any questions about the southeastern area Connecticut high schools? Again, I only looked at 8, but these 8 rank above Fitch according to U.S. News and World Report in 2025.
I just want to clarify, because Carmina just shared the theory of knowledge class that does not have a distinction between HL and SL. It says TOK is part of the IB core alongside with the extended essay. I'm sorry, theory of knowledge is neither SL or HL. It is a core requirement of the program. And I believe we've been awarding the 1.0 because it's an IB course. Not the distinction.
Thanks.
Yep.
Thanks, Matt. So in summary, looking at Connecticut high schools, there are 5 schools in Connecticut that offer the IB diploma. Of the 5, 3 are larger comprehensive high schools that offer the IB diploma as one option for students. And the remaining 2 are full magnet IB high schools. All offer advanced level credit or quality points to students who enroll in the IB courses. And only one of the 5 makes a distinction between the IB higher level, or what's known as the HL, and the standard level courses, and that's the CREC Magnet School. And then I examined the program of studies for 8 of the high schools in southeastern Connecticut, as identified by the U.S. U.S. News and World Report from April 2025. All 8 offer some combination of advanced, college prep, and standard level courses for students. None of the 8 make a distinction between AP, ECE, and CCP courses. All of these courses count for each school as the same type of advanced level credit. All 8 schools recognize honors courses by awarding it to lower quality points than advanced level credit like APE or ECE. And most of the schools vary in the way that they award quality points. For example, some may award 0.25 points versus 0.5. That should say 0.25. That's the end of this particular presentation regarding quality points at Fitch and a comparison of other high schools. Can either myself or one of the members of the Fitch leadership team answer any specific questions regarding this? And I'm going to stop sharing right now.
Yeah. All right. Thank you for that. I will go to Mike or Andrea first. If either of you have any questions that you want to bring up.
No,
I guess one question I have is, does Fitch currently offer like a standard level version and a higher level version of the same course? It seems like to me maybe there's not that choice if you're taking a English to pick one or the other.
So you're right. In most subject areas there isn't a choice. For English, for example, right now we only offer the higher level for that 12th grade year. Math, we usually do offer a higher level and a standard level. This year we did not run for the current juniors. We did not run a higher level course this year because of enrollment numbers. But most of the subject areas, actually, Anna, I'm going to piggyback on that a little bit. There are also some subject areas where there's some take the test at the HL level and some take it at the SL level, like sports science.
Oh yeah, thanks. I remember that about the sports science.
Yeah.
So I guess I could see an argument because they do distinguish between the higher level and standard level. So I can see why that one school does that. So I can see that maybe being worth exploring, but I also want to be careful about making that an impediment towards people taking those standard level courses.
I think, I'm sorry.
No, that's
Okay, I think, because we totally, like, when we went into this, we started looking, because we understand the concern, that they're at the same level, but we felt like you're almost going down a rabbit hole of, like, where do you stop? Like, is a ECE course more, rigorous than the IB? Standard level course, then you'd really just, I think it would be really hard to determine how and when and why you stop at different levels if you start doing that is I think the concern, if that makes sense.
it does. It can get very granular.
That's kind of what happened as we started looking into it, and then we started looking at other schools and so forth.
My other question is, I remember this now. I went to high school a long time ago, but I vaguely remember that I had a class rank, or maybe not a class rank, but a GPA based on unweighted and then weighted GPA. Do current transcripts have that like availability? Not necessarily for the class rank, but just to show both
We do show
GPAs.
both, yes, and I'm
Because
I'm pretty certain it's on the transcript, but we
oh, you
definitely
do.
share both. Yeah, the weighted and the unweighted.
Yeah, because that's great. Because I mean, the most important thing is that students are taking the right courses for them, and if they're excelling in the right courses for them, I think that should show up in their transcript, not just by the grades, but like kind of an overall easy to capture metric, so they can kind of um, show their best foot forward as they're applying for things.
Mike, I
Mhm.
can confirm that the bottom of the transcript shows both.
That's great. Thanks.
Yep.
All right. I guess I'll go now. So the reason that we're talking about this is because I just have concerns that some of the IBSL classes are what seems to me as an outsider who has never taken one or, so I haven't sit through this, but some of the IBSL classes and maybe some of the other IB, like, I'm not sure about theory of knowledge, but certainly like the MYP project, that's probably going to be weighted as an IB credit, correct? Or
No, no, the MOIP project is it's only referring to the DP level classes, the diploma program classes, not
oh, all right.
MYP.
All right, all right, all right. Well, thank you for that.
Yep.
But we've been told that the board's been told many times that some of the lower level classes are more like honors level classes in their rigor, and that's kind of part of the reason that we don't have honors level classes in some subjects, or don't have many honors level classes in some subjects. But the easiest one to go to though, like a class, and it is in math, right? The IBSL math. Um, I did a little bit of research today and looked at what it would equate to in college, and it looks like it's basically a pre-calculus or an algebra 3 kind of, a little bit lower level class where I think AB or AP, you're pretty much into calculus by the time you get to college level classes, ECE or AP or the HL classes. So that class in particular, and if we go to UConn, for instance, because they actually, I looked at 5 different colleges to figure out what colleges were actually accepting um, for these for high level and standard level classes. So I looked at UConn, Eastern Connecticut, Central Connecticut, uh, University of Rhode Island, and then University of New Hampshire, thinking that those are kind of the bigger. I'm guessing that a large percentage of our students make it into those schools. Um, but basically, none of the schools outside of UConn accept any HL classes for actual equivalent college level. So they don't accept them as offsetting credits that their schools offer. They like all of those schools accepted HL classes. And I know, Mr. Brown, what you were talking about as, going down a rabbit hole because, one of my children took, I think it was SL Chemistry 12, and I think the prerequisite for that was AP Chemistry. And
Hmm.
it was an extremely difficult class. So just because it's an SL doesn't mean that it's easy. I think mostly it means that it's 1 year versus 2 years. But a lot of times they are a little bit easier. Um, and even where we go to the UConn that accepts that math SL, that's a little bit lower. They require that you to take that as an actual credit for college. They would require that you also have gotten the IB diploma, which is a very small percentage of the IB kids in Fitch, and that you scored a 7 on the test, on the IB, exam at the end. So basically UConn will take it, but it makes it very unlikely that class is going to actually pan out into a UConn credit. And the reason that I kind of went to and looked to see what colleges were doing is because we're offering, um, the continuing ed credits, the ECE credits, the AP credits, and the IB, certainly HL, because colleges will take it, and we're offering them as to be the equivalent of college classes, and it seems to me that some of the SL classes, and I'll call out that math, but maybe theory of knowledge because I couldn't find that anywhere, in UConn or anywhere else that would accept that class, and I have to assume that these colleges went in and looked at the curriculum to see if they felt it was rigorous enough to offset one of their classes. So I feel like I mean, it's one thing to compare to other high schools, and I appreciate the effort that was done in that. Um, but this is where the rubber hits the road. Do these colleges actually or do these classes actually, are they as hard as a college class? And I think that at least with these colleges, it doesn't seem like some of them are. Um,
I can
and,
can I
and
respond to some of that before I?
yeah, yep,
Yeah, thank you. I mean, just one thing is, they don't accept they don't give automatically award the AP credit unless you get a certain score as well. So you still have to get a certain score in order to get the AP credit, right? Either a 4 or a 5, or it depends college to college. And then you also, we also have like AP pre-calculus is now offered, and AP intro to calc. You're getting certain college level course grades for each of these, or you're getting awarded a certain college credit. It's just I think it's really really going to get very hard to, then do we value ECE more than IB more than AP because they're automatically getting that credit just because of taking the class. um I think that's why all these schools really have a distinction of, is it AP, is it a college level course, and that's what rewards the weight. I just don't know how we would differentiate each of the different programs,
yeah,
because yeah,
yeah,
we could make an argument that some of the ECE courses potentially are at the equivalent of that IB math class. Like how do we differentiate that? And I think that's a really challenging question to ask. I don't know how to answer it because that's when we went into this, that's what we were looking at. All right, well, where would that differentiation be? And that was before we even started looking at other schools.
yeah. No, I understand that that it's difficult, and just to be clear, like pretty much all of the colleges require, um, I think sometimes three, but 4 and 5s on APs. And then I found, as far as IB, basically every college or all five of these colleges required a five or better. UConn was the one that made the distinction where sometimes they would just take a 6 and 7, or sometimes they would just take a 7. So they all have, they all want the score on the test as well as, the class, as the level of class.
But then
So,
Mike,
so I
and Mike,
understand that this is difficult, but my concern is that, and I think that, having kids that have gone through the system, they've kind of been told that, you're going to have or it's a little bit easier to get a higher GPA in the IB program because of some of these classes that really aren't as challenging. So if you're in the IB diploma program, you're taking all, like what is that, maybe 6 classes or maybe even 7 would be IB at that college level, where for a student to be able to handle that same amount of rigor, if we were in APs, for example, or UConn classes, would be, very unlikely, or it would take a very special student to be able to handle that same amount of that same course load. So that's kind of my thought. And there's a few things that consider here, is because colleges, in addition to just looking at students' grades, they want to know where you are in the class. So that percentage really matters. If you're in the top 10% or top 20% or top 50%, that where you end up in the percentage in the class is I believe, from my understanding of college admissions and sitting in on lots of seminars, when we go visit schools, they care about that. And the fairness, that we're basically, at least in my opinion, favoring the IB program over the AP by allowing some classes that are really not quite as hard. It just seems unfair to some students. And then the other thing
but
is, in addition to just that, just the percentage, there's a significant financial advantage if you end up being in the top, 2 of the class, basically the top 1% of the class in the in Fitch. If you're that number 1 or 2 students, then I believe you have to apply, but you pretty much get accepted to UConn tuition free all 4 years. Is a program. So there's a big financial incentive to be at the very top of the class. And again, is it fair if a student just can't handle 6 AP classes, but an IB student can handle that amount of rigor in the IB, because some of the SL classes are really probably more of honors level.
but I think, again, going back to, let's say, AP pre-calc, that might be pretty darn close to the standard level course. It's AP pre-calc, and we're not, I think we're not giving weight more so for AP versus IB. And when it has that AP in front of it, it's not just AP Calc AB, the calculus class. We're expanding with all the AP courses we're offering. So again, you could make the argument that AP Calc and our pre-calc and that IB standard level class are pretty darn close. Going back to the chemistry example that you gave, they take the AP class, their AP test junior year, and then they're advancing their studies in chemistry. Honestly, I think, can you guys still hear me? Hello?
Yeah, you
Yep.
faded in and
Yes.
out there a little bit.
Sorry, my internet just kind of kicked in on and off. I don't know where I left off, but uh, honestly, and I know we've had conversations before. I'd rather our conversations are leaning towards getting away from the rank system, anyways, because of the stress that it causes our kids and the anxiety of making sure they're taking the highest level courses they can, so they can get past that, the number 2 to the number 1 spot. But I mean, you could go through each subject area and try to make the argument the IB course or the AP class are at different levels, and I just don't know how we're ever going to come to an agreement on the weighting system that would be appropriate. We'd have to look at each individual class very, very closely. I don't know how we do that. And I don't know how if, I'd love to find examples of other schools through, even if it's not through Connecticut, but other schools that do this and see how they do it.
Yeah, I mean a clear thing. I mean the work that you guys did comparing it to other high schools, I appreciate that. That's, but of those AP or the classes, the schools that offer IB, I mean that's all of them, where there's whatever 150 districts or 100 was it 160 districts that offer AP, versus
Yeah.
5 that offer AB. So it's really hard to, I understand how it's hard to find a good plan because it doesn't seem like anybody else has really done it.
Yeah. And
But
yeah.
that being
And with
said, in my own feelings for it, the fairness to the students is really what I'm kind of focused in on here. And do we owe it to the students in fairness to maybe to take a closer look? So if there is an AP level, if there's an AP level pre-calc that really isn't that hard and doesn't, show the rigor, then maybe we shouldn't consider that at the same weighting. Just because we've done it this way, and it's because it just started with UConn, and then AP. I believe we had UConn before AP classes, right? Um, but because it started that way and then IB got added, I mean, I don't think we necessarily need to stay on the same path. I think there might be a more dynamic way to look at it, or a more holistic way to look at it, rather than just whether it says IB or AP or ECE or CE, before the class. So did I come in? Did you guys hear
Yeah.
all that?
we did. Yeah.
Can I ask a
just-
question, please?
Yeah.
Can you all hear me?
Yep.
Okay, because I just would wonder, like, who would be the arbiter of that? Who would determine what is rigor and not rigor? Right? So if IB has this curriculum and it deems it to be SL versus HL, who is to determine whether the class that I teach, and I'm thinking of IB US History SL, is much more rigorous than Amy's class, IB US History SL.
Or just to
Right, so-
piggyback on that, what about AP Calculus AB versus AP Calculus BC? Because that second course comes after, they've learned the AB content. Should that be at a higher level? And are there any schools that actually do that?
But I do know as a teacher of AP and IB, they offer different styles or different ways of teaching, right? Where IB is more a survey class, and I'm speaking specifically for social studies. It's more a survey class, right? More research. Whereas AP, I mean, it's more expansive. You have to know more content. And one of my mantras are, you can't write what you don't know. So it's more, well, IB is more in depth and goes at a slower pace, and that's for SL or HL. But it lends itself to the needs of the student and what style of teaching that they can adapt to. So I would, as another cautionary tale, to determine whose class is rigor or what course is rigorous than the other. That's a line that I wouldn't want to go down.
I have to chime in and add to what Carmita was saying as a person that has taught in the high levels. I think that we do risk a certain amount of subjectivity in making decisions like this. And to repeat her question, who would be the arbiter of that? Because that type of subjectivity, I think, could be quite problematic if we take a look at the whole school in what we want for the whole school and all of the students, we have to ask ourselves, what's the goal here? What are we really looking at? In the end, are all of our students who go on to higher ed, regardless of their choices being full diploma, blended IB, AP, or full AP, in the end, do we feel confident that we're preparing them all for studies of higher ed? And if we can answer yes, then the sort of subjectivity that we may be looking at for quality points, I don't know if the end would actually give us the returns that we want. I think that that level of subjectivity may actually harm in the end, because then what you're doing is you're pitting our courses up against each other. And I think that what we're trying to do is prepare students for what's next and make sure that we're offering quality courses regardless of the acronym that goes before the title.
Yeah, thank you, and I appreciate that. And that is obviously what we're trying to do in all the classes is get, for the kids that are going to be, college bound and not career bound, to get them ready, whether it's an IB or AP, and should we be focusing on this? But then at the same, and I understand the arbiter, who would be the arbiter, and it would ultimately be, the school administration, to figure out, what do we make for, where are the kind of the guidelines? Is it going to be an expected amount of, hours outside of school, outside of the classroom? The amount, to figure out what the workload is, to level that out. But we already, in the system that we have, it already kind of does the same thing by just saying, we're just going to put a blanket, credit on these classes to, regardless of how hard they are. So I guess I was just hoping, for the, I mean, in my ideal world, it would be somebody to be an arbiter and say, well, I think that this class, and maybe it would be, that weighed with the teachers of the class's input, but I think this class is going to require, X amount of work outside, and it's going to be this hard to get an A in it, and to kind of wait out. I do understand that would be a very difficult task, to go through, certainly all of the SL classes and some of the AP classes, and figure out which way those classes are going to go. But we don't offer, very many honors level classes for those juniors and seniors um, the same token. So, maybe some of these should fall into that honors level class. And maybe that would actually, improve, for students taking it, taking kind of knowing that it's more of like a half a step up to that really hard IBHL or AP class, taking some of the SL, like the SL math. It's, I think I'm assuming that by the data and what I've read anyway, that it's probably not as rigorous as like an AP or IB. Well, IB doesn't have calculus, I guess, but as AP calculus. So should that be weighted differently, and would students actually be more apt to take that class rather than just taking a college prep level math class? So, I know we tell them it's as hard, but then when it comes to weighting, it doesn't really seem that way.
Adrian, I've had my hand up for a while. If you're finished, may I speak?
Yeah, we can't see when you have your hand up, because it only
Okay,
shows
thank you.
us who's speaking. So yeah, go ahead and speak.
Okay. Two things I want to say. First, I was all for, to be honest, I was all for going through this process. And I want to note that we actually we're probably only showing you part of the process that we went through. I will tell you that the teachers sat with the department chairs, looked at every single course that gets advanced quality points, and we asked them to look at the course, make a recommendation. What the course should look at what the points are this year. Look at make a recommendation at what the points should be next year, and if it was recommended for a change, why that change should be made. So, they went through essentially a course audit. And we got that information, the Fitch leadership team and myself, we looked at all of that. And, we sat down, we probably met for over 2.5 hours that day, a couple of weeks ago. And we wrestled with the information because there were in some cases, where maybe a recommendation was made to maybe increase quality points, in some cases to decrease the quality points. And that's where we made the decision to kind of move forward and look at what some of the other schools were doing. Ultimately, where I kind of converted it, because I was all for like, hey, let's look at some consistency here in this building. And for me, it was really about, you use the term like equity, I think. And that's really where things make a difference for me. And when I started to do that research about what are the other IB schools doing, what are the other schools in this area doing, and when I kind of thought to myself, or determined based on this research, that if we make a change like this, with the SL and HL courses, or maybe, making a distinction between ECE courses, because we kind of considered a couple of different options to bring forward to this board for review. I really believe that we would be putting our students at a disadvantage. And, talk about equity. That would really have a negative impact on our students, I believe, when those students, go to apply for college, to colleges. And because of that, and I think I know the whole Fitch leadership team and I were in agreement about that, which is why, we brought forward the presentation that we did. So I feel really passionate about that, really very serious about it. And that's kind of why we landed the way we did. The second point I want to make is I want to speak to what you just mentioned about honors classes. And one thing that I have found in my, almost 30-year career as an educator is that, expectations are really important for kids. And, I can be really proud. I haven't been here that long, but I'm really proud of the advanced level courses that we offer. There's so many that are options that we have here at Fitch for students. And if you wind up offering courses, pathways for students like honors level, if we offer them a lower level like honors, they will take that option. They will not opt then for the IB SL course. They will not then opt for the ECE course. They will not opt for the AP course. Instead, they will take more honors level courses, which I guess is good, but you'll never get that college level experience. And honors classes are okay, but it will not. Those courses will not prepare you in the same way for the rigor of college academics as the AP, IB, or ECE course will. I believe Dr. Ackerman and probably Mike Whitney will agree with me on that. And that's just, I think, human nature, especially the nature of a teenager. There will be some teenagers, of course, that go ahead and probably a good number of them. But I do believe there will also be a good number of teenage students that say, oh, I can take an honors course and get quality points, and it's going to be a little easier for me in my junior or senior year. I think there will be a large number of them that will opt for honors rather than that more advanced level course. And so while I know that some people are interested in exploring more honors options for kids, I think that's a mistake if we go down that road. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to speak on these two.
Okay. Yes, thank you. Where's the hand? There it is. Okay.
Oh, do you have anything to say, Andrea?
Yes.
All right. Yeah, go
I just
ahead.
wanted to say that I fully agree with Anne-Marie. I think kids need to be challenged, and I think that they need to know that they can do this, and to know also what's going to be required of them. And I couldn't agree with Emery more.
Yeah, I would say that I also agree, and I appreciate that. Um, I guess I would just kind of go back and say that in my own opinion, by redesignating some of these SL classes at that honors point level, we're still running the exact same class. We're just maybe informing students that it's not quite as rigorous, so maybe they wouldn't be as nervous about signing up for it in the first place. So I guess that would be my kind of counter, that we're not actually changing any of our offerings or redesigning curriculums here. We're just trying to, at least in my opinion, we would be just trying to weight things, more fairly, depending on the rigor. I guess one thing, and we don't have to keep going on this because I know we've got a couple of other things and we got a late start tonight. But one thing I am curious about is, do students that are in the IB program, how many IB classes do they take? Like, so if you're in the diploma program and going towards, one of the kids that really is going towards a diploma, I know not that many kind of make it that last 10 yards to in June when everybody else is checked out, but or May, I guess it is. But if they're kind of going to that diploma program, how many IB level classes do they have in their schedule of, I guess it's 7 classes, is it that they have options for? So I don't know if Matt or Carmita or Amy can answer that. Did anybody hear that?
Yeah,
We did. I believe
cool.
is it 6
And it
and
can
then
vary, because I'm thinking about the 11th grade year, because they do have to take a civic or AP government, right? So, and then their electives. So it can run from 4 to 5 to 6.
Yeah. So to just go back to
Can you hear
like
me?
a whole
I think
child.
though,
Okay.
I think the one thing that's important, I'm sorry to interrupt, Adrian, is that if you're going for the the IB diploma, sorry, you are limited to the number of SL exams courses plus exams then that you can take. And Carmita, I think you probably have more information on this than I do, but I believe you're limited to maybe only 2 SL exams. Everything else has to be a higher level.
And you know what, and I don't know the exact answer for that, but I don't know, when I taught and I had full IB students, I don't know too many who took the SL at that time. I think, and I'm only thinking about social studies. We just incorporated an SL into our program, just to give some variety. But there's not too many of our SL classes within our catalog.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess to just go back to the holistic thing, is it a student that loaded their schedule with 6 AP classes versus a student that loaded their schedule with 7 IB classes? Would they be equivalent in the amount of work that they're doing? The same student will say, would it be equivalent in the amount of work that they're expected to do, or would one be, harder or easier than the other? If we were to just kind of make a generalization there.
I can tell you,
generalization, I would say
Adrian,
equivalent.
Our
Equivalent.
same. And I
yeah,
and
I
I
can,
don't like that comparison. There are people, I remember when we first started this, people used to question what's harder. I think they both can be difficult in their own certain ways. I do. They're both challenging. And if students wants to learn, they can learn.
All right. All
I
right.
can
Well,
tell you, Adrian, if I'm sorry if you let me, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I just came from a district that has the #1 high school in the state of Connecticut. Though that is a full IB high school. Those students, I will tell you, that is a very rigorous school. Every student takes the full IB diploma. They all take the IB exams in their 12th grade year. And I will tell you, all of those students constantly, all they do is talk about how hard that program is. Their graduation speeches, all they do is talk about how difficult the program is. There's a lot of mental health services at that school because the program is so difficult. I can go on and on about, about the kids and at that school and how often they talk about how challenging their program is to the ad nauseum, where it's almost obnoxious over the top. I have not heard that from our students at Fitch, which I appreciate. But the program at Fitch is not different from the program at SEBA. I think our kids maybe at Fitch just handle it a little better. But I do think it is a very, very rigorous program if you're going for the full diploma.
Yeah. All right. All right. I appreciate those responses. So, is there any other discussion on this, Mike or Andrew? Do you have any more questions or concerns or anything?
No, no.
Yeah, I'm all set.
All right. All right. Yeah, I think you've answered all my questions as well. And I thank you. I know you guys put a lot into this. So I really do appreciate it. And if anything, you've kind of eased some of my concerns about it. So I appreciate that.
Thank you.
All right. So next item on our agenda is the curriculum development process. And this is going back to a policy change brought by the administration that the board discussed on September 3rd in the curriculum meeting. So after that meeting, there was a long delay by the time it got to the board for votes, and there was some confusion on what we did kind of talk about and agree on in that meeting, and what ended up making it to the board policy committee and ultimately to the board for the vote for the first read. So that vote is not complete. We're still working on this policy, or at least the board as a whole. It is not curriculum necessarily. But I wanted to have this on the agenda so that we could have some clarity of what the committee's feelings were in regards to the modification of policy 6141. So with that, I
Hey, Nick,
turn it over to Anne Marie.
can you enlarge that, or whoever's got it? Can you enlarge it?
Sure.
Right. Is it okay if we, I think we're going to leave if that's
Yes,
okay.
thank you. Thank you,
Yes,
Matt and
thank you.
Carmita.
Matt, Amy,
Right.
Carmita, I appreciate it time tonight.
Thank
you.
you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk about this. I want to take full responsibility for the mistake that happened last week at, I believe it was the full board meeting. And, Adrian just spoke a little bit about this. I brought this forward to the curriculum committee here on September 3rd. And there was no policy meeting. It was supposed to go to policy after that. There's no policy meeting in October. It went to policy, I believe, on November the 20th. That was a long delay, obviously, and I think there was a miscommunication between myself and the executive assistant who takes the notes for the different meetings. Again, I'll take responsibility. I don't believe it was her fault. I think the long delay created that miscommunication. And so when it went to the full board, I believe, for review, the changes that I wanted to have, or the changes that we talked about at the curriculum meeting back in September, on September the 3rd, were not communicated or were not reflected accurately when they went forward. And to be honest with you, and again, I'm going to own this, take responsibility. I didn't remember. And so I had assumed that the changes that were reflected in the document were accurate. And so I made a mistake, and I want to be fully transparent or honest about that. And then I also want to remind everyone, or use this as an opportunity to remind everyone about the changes that I had originally recommended. What is reflected here is what was brought forward to the board on last week. And so this is the only copy I have. I don't have, for whatever reason, the document that was shared with you on September 3rd. And unfortunately, because no one was in last week, it was the day the day that we were leaving for Thanksgiving. I didn't have access to the document. Erica, in other words, was not in. And so I just had access to the document that Joyce had, but I was hoping that we could review this and I can share with you the changes that I recommended originally to you on September the 3rd. So the policy right now as written, or the original policy was, is 6 steps. First, that a new course would be presented to the superintendent or assistant superintendent for approval. The second is that it goes to the Board of Education Curriculum Subcommittee for review and recommendations. The third is that it's presented to the COW please disregard the edits, for approval. Then the fourth, the curriculum is written. Fifth is that the curriculum subcommittee will review. And the sixth is that the curriculum is then presented to the full board. On September 3rd, what I had recommended is that step number 3 would be eliminated. And at that point, I believe that this full committee had agreed with that recommendation. Again, unfortunately, what happened, what transpired between September 3rd and when this was reviewed with the policy committee and then with the full board late November, somehow 3 got changed. In terms of, I think what happened was there was some question about whether or not there could be a vote at the committee of the whole. And because there was a focus on that, I guess because there was, some question about that, rather than that step being eliminated, like I had proposed and you had agreed to, that stayed, and somehow number 5 got eliminated. That was never my intention. 5 was always going to remain, where this curriculum committee would have viewing of rights, of course, of the curriculum. And the final approval, of course, would go to the board. The only step that would be eliminated in this process that I'm recommending is that the COW, the review of the COW after the curriculum subcommittee be eliminated as a step in the process, because the board will have full review as in step number 6. If I remember correctly, Dr. Ackerman had actually commented in September 3rd that, the board said, the curriculum subcommittee has had extensive review, 2 different opportunities. There's no need for basically essentially 2 reviews by the full board, one by the committee of the whole. In this case, if number 3 stays, it would have to be the full board, because the full board the committee of the whole does not have approval rights. And then as a step number 6. And so I'm hoping that my explanation here makes sense in terms of the revision the mistake that was made and the revision that I proposed originally on September the 3rd.
That's correct.
Does anyone have questions about what I originally proposed and again, the mistake that was made? And again, I want to apologize and be upfront about the error and apologize for that error that was made.
No, I just wanted to have a comment about the board meeting, and that is that whatever happened, my vote was because and I think I voted to put this back. I don't really recall, but my vote was because I didn't think that that was going to be a second reading for the board. I thought it was going to be a first. So that's where all that happened. So
yeah, I think it was a first, Dr. Ackerman.
Well, it was so confusing because whoever knows about those first and second things, had a question that I would never have thought of. So I think I think in the end we finally said, all right, okay, let's make it a first and let's send it back. I think that's what happened. But at any rate, what you just said, Anne-Marie, is correct. So just to affirm what you're saying. And in fact, I did say at the meeting, I think, that in the past board members had said, why am I hearing this for the 3rd time, for heaven's sake?
Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Anne Marie. And what you're proposing now is kind of what I remember from that meeting. And I know that we didn't have we didn't have any like live documents in that meeting to kind of refer back to, so I had to kind of listen to it. But that
Yeah, and
was
I also went
you
back and
know,
watched the full meeting just to make sure that
yeah,
it
I
was
remember the
clear.
comment. I remember the comment on the COW being that they can't vote on it anyway. And that it was because originally, to give everyone on the committee or whoever else is listening some more history in this, um, Anne Marie had sent me an email saying I'd kind of like to make these changes.
Mhm.
And then I contacted Jody at CABE to ask him about the policy changes and where the full board would vote, what's typical for a board of ed. So then we kind of, or Anne Marie kind of with Jody's comments that basically that the full board should vote on the final curriculum. That's how we kind of ended up with the possible elimination of the step three. And in the meeting, I had made a statement about the risk for the administration or the teachers is that, you know, if the curriculum committee approved the writing and then approved the subcommittee review and then the full board didn't approve it, that might be disheartening to, you know, a teacher that had spent all that time on that. But I think given that the likelihood's probably pretty low, and if the administration's willing to kind of accept that as a possibility, you know, a possible outcome, then I think that you know, I support that removal. You know, if the administration's, you know, okay with that possible outcome, you know, letting teachers know that could happen.
And I think the other thing is, we talked about, you know, whether or not the curriculum committee had what did it mean when we sent it to the board? And it was, you know, in my view, if we send it to the board, that means that we're recommending it that they uh, that they vote for it. But I think there was that area was unclear. But I think if we send it to the curriculum centers to the board, that means everything's okay here. Then you we're recommending you vote for it, unless I remember that wrong. But I don't think I did.
Yeah, and I imagine I've only been on the board for 2 years, but I imagine that if we were to go back through 10 years of meetings, there's probably very few, if any, times when the board kind of didn't go with the committee's review, you know, as far as the curriculum anyway. I mean, they may have made modifications, but it seems like it'd be unlikely that we made it you know, to the end zone and then didn't, or made it to the 1 yard line and not to the end zone with getting a new curriculum. So, um, so with that, Mike, do you have any comments or questions?
Yeah, thanks. First of all, thank you for the explanation. That last Board of Ed meeting I found that part very, very hard for me. But so right now, like in the curriculum meeting, you came with that proposal, as you said, to that change that was showing on the screen before to step three, and then everything else was unchanged. What is the proposal now? I'm unclear if there's still going to be a step removed because I know we didn't um, come to any conclusions on that as a committee the first time.
So, from my understanding, we did come to a conclusion the first time, and that was that, and again, I rewatched the meeting, it was that step number three, would be eliminated.
No, I
And number
think
three was
no.
number three was that.
That's not. Sorry.
Mhm.
That's not. You came with a proposal of changing it, and we were all supportive of that.
No, I don't believe so, but will you tell me what you remember so that I could either double check it or just jog my memory?
I remember you came to us. I mean, so one thing that we were looking at the curriculum handbook, and
Mm-hmm.
in the handbook, these steps, the original steps from the policy were there, and is in that context that they were looking to make the changes. I will say that that linked document, that version of it doesn't exist anymore. So we spent a long time talking about page 6, but you
Okay.
can't track that anymore. So that version I think would need to be reestablished in the link, actually for FOIA reasons. Um, but you came to us with a proposal to change it, as you said, to instead number 3, instead of going to the cow, to go to the full board. And at that time, Adrian and I were in attendance, and I think we never came with a recommendation, but I think we both supported that. There was discussion about you never proposed. You didn't come to a proposal of removing a step. First of all, there's discussion about maybe removing some of those earlier steps. At one point, it was the full board. At one point, it was the curriculum committee. But we didn't come to any conclusion of that. But it's pretty clear the proposal you came to, and if we had that original version of the curriculum handbook, the modified version, it would show that it was that step 3 modified as it's shown now, and then everything else left in place. And I'm sure on that.
Um,
Yeah. Well, I have I mean, those are all good comments. It's close to what I remember. Slightly different, like, because when I rewatched it, but I had a different take going into it because I had already done a little bit of research on this, to try to get the best idea for the committee to start with, or try to get some facts for the committee, by reaching out to Jody and doing some things like that. So I had a little bit more going into it. But I think at this point, we don't necessarily need to go back and talk about that meeting. I think what we need to do is, as a committee, make recommendations for policy and for the full board. That was my hope by bringing it up again in the committee.
Hmm.
Um, so with that being said, I think what Anne Marie's saying is that she would like to leave step 5 in there that's currently lined out in red, and we can just see how the committee feels on this, but leave step 5 in, so that would just turn back to black from line through red, and then eliminate step 3, um, and eliminate step 3. I think I remember noticing that it said COW, and I think I remember making a comment like that, but maybe it was Mike that made that comment now. But either way, where we are now is the administration's recommending to get rid of step 3. So I guess I would like to see how the committee feels about that. Is that accurate, Anne Marie?
Yeah, that is accurate. That's my recommendation, and that's what I am planning to bring forward to, or what I would like to bring forward to policy.
All right. All right. So, would anyone, I know the whole, like, can you vote in a committee thing, but we'll vote by means of a way of understanding something firm coming out of this. But
We
would anyone,
can always vote a recommendation.
oh, all right. All right. So, like, would anyone like to make a motion um for recommendation to the board to eliminate step 3 in policy 6141?
So moved.
All right, and I will second it. Um, so, all right, any more discussion on it?
So let me just be clear. So it's not going to go to the committee of the whole. Our recommendation that it move forward to the board is recommendation enough for them to seriously consider this, correct?
Well, what we're going to do is the curriculum committee, that way the committee has a clear, we've shown a clear path to go back to policy. And then presumably policy will somehow take the committee's recommendations and what we voted for in the first reading, and then give it to the full board to kind of decide if they want to go for what we voted for in the first reading if they want to go with the curriculum committee's, modification to that first reading or
Oh,
what. But
actually, well, what I would do is probably go to policy and let them know that I'm recommending a change from that first reading based on the fact that it was an error.
yeah, which is fine.
And I want to be clear too, just so Dr. Ackerman understands, Dr. Ackerman, the process then would be that a new curriculum or a new course is presented to the superintendent or assistant superintendent for approval. Then it goes to the curriculum subcommittee for a review and recommendation. Then upon approval, the curriculum is written. And then it goes to the Board of Education. That once that curriculum is written, it goes back to the curriculum subcommittee for review, and then to the full board for final approval.
That's my understanding.
Okay.
Yeah, so this would save a little bit of board time as well by having to, approving it twice. Because they're just not approving drafting the curriculum. So there's a little bit of financial impact if we didn't, but more, I think it's more the time that the teacher would spend putting into it. So, um, so with that being said, is there any other discussion? All right, so I'm just gonna ask who's in favor of that change. So Andrea,
Yes,
all right, and Mike,
No.
all right, and I am in favor of it. So we can let the policy committee know that, that outcome, that there was majority but not unanimous support of that. But what I would also like to do right now is to have some of Mike's thoughts, so that we can also let the policy committee know that, so that we can have some options when it gets to the full board to vote on the second reading. So if you want to kind of explain what how you envision this, Mike, and then we'll make sure it ends up in the meeting minutes that way, and it goes to policy so they understand what the other thoughts were that the committee had.
Yeah, my feeling is that the only thing that needs changing is that within step 3, changing it from cow to full board, because even though there wasn't another step in there, by having it go to the cow couldn't vote to approve it, had to go to a full board meeting. And actually, we talked about this quite a bit. It like and the scheduling of the cow and the alignment of everything. That was actually a lot of our content during that meeting, or that part of the meeting. Um, Having it go not to the cow and instead to the full board. Usually, I guess it could be punted to the cow if um, the chair decided, and we talked about that too. That does streamline it a bit, and so I think that's important. We also talked last time about every time you do this uh, curriculum development, it does have financial costs associated with it, and then implications as well. And that might be a rationale for having the full board involved ahead of time. I mean, there's another way around that is like to have it, curriculum development like a line item in each year's budget, and spending that. But I do think, because of the financial, and we brought this up last time, because of the financial implications, that that step 3, getting that full board approval, um, would help. Now, there are two things I I would suggest maybe also modifying to help that along. One of them's policy, and one of them's just practice, which would fall out of this policy discussion, but within the curriculum development. So the one thing with policy is, um, step number 2 says, it's for the curriculum committee, and it says review and recommendations, plural. I think we could probably just have that singular. And so, like here, I didn't agree with it, but you voted to recommend a certain course of action. So we could vote to recommend, that this curriculum goes forward. And in step 2, and then actually I would add that to, I don't have it up in front of me right now, I think it's step 5, where it comes back to the curriculum committee after it's written, and we just have for review. I think if, and I put this to the policy committee chair too in an email. I think adding and recommendation there would help the process go faster in terms of that board meeting too. So that you come out of each time like it's going to be written. Here's the recommendation from the committee that it should be, and then after it's written, here's the recommendation for the committee that it should be approved. I think that helps the process along quite a bit. So that's the policy side of thing, that to put recommendation in singular on 2 and then add and recommendation to number 5. So both curriculum committee steps. Um, my non-policy part is I can see how it's onerous for a teacher to have to come to 2 curriculum committee meetings, like before and after writing, and 2 board meetings before and after writing. But I don't know that that's necessary, because um, maybe they just come to the curriculum committees, or maybe they just come to the board meetings. But the fact that it's been signed off on by the assistant superintendent means that they're at this point knowledgeable and qualified to present with some additional information. I mean, that's a decision of the teaching staff and the administration, but it would be a way to reduce the number of times a teacher would have to come and present, because after it's been signed off on by assistant superintendent, after it's been signed, like recommended for approval by the curriculum committee, for instance, like we take a certain amount of ownership to that, and we can advocate on our own for it. So those are my thoughts. One policy, one kind of practice.
All right. So the first part of that, maybe we can, maybe so the 2 additional things, I think are great ideas to, the modifications to number 2 and 5, just removing recommendations to recommendation, in number 2. Well, that would, if we delete the S, that would basically, review and recommendation. That would make it where it's going to the full board versus recommendations to the administration. Is that your kind of thought on that, Mike?
Yeah, I guess that change with the to singular would, in my mind, still have 3 there, step 3. But if step 3 weren't there, I guess you'd want to leave it plural, right?
Yeah,
Or not. I mean, yeah, because we can't recommend. Yeah, I don't know. I guess we could, but yeah, if you didn't have step 3, that change
makes
wouldn't be
sense.
critical. Well, it might, but it's not critical, I'd say.
Yeah. But how about step 5? I think your recommendation to put and recommendation at the end of step 5 is a very good modification in my opinion. I don't know if Andrea has any opinions on that, but because we really are making a recommendation to the full board for final approval, so I think saying that is important that we say that. So maybe we can just make a motion to add that, on step 5 anyway. And I think that whether we make recommendation singular or plural, that can just kind of get worked out however the policy ends up, you know. So do you
So,
want to, do you want
so
to,
maybe I'm tired. I don't know. Adrian, just in essence, in a nutshell, tell me what you just said.
all right. So I think that we should just make a motion right now to, at the end of step 5, where it says Board of Education Curriculum Subcommittee will review and recommend and make recommendation for board approval at the end of that.
I like that because I thought to I like that because to me it was just implicit, but now it actually says it, and because like whoever said it before, the board changes, maybe it was Dean at the other meeting, board changes, it's not the same people. The policy committee will and the curriculum committees will change. Um, so then this spells it out exactly. Because to me, I'd say, well, you send it to the board, that means you recommend it. But this actually says,
Yeah. Actually, maybe if we say and make recommendation for board action.
yeah,
Um,
I like that.
what do you think about that, Mike?
Of what? Making that change to
Yeah, so
five?
at the end of five, just pay, at the end of five, adding and make recommendation for board action.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be fine with me. I guess we're voting that as a separate recommendation because we're recommending changes.
Yeah, yep.
Yeah.
So we voted on number three to kind of go with Anne Marie's proposal there. But with the clarification of your concerns on that. And then we can vote on a change to five that we would be proposing as a committee by adding that at the end. Um, and just like Andrea said, I think it just reads better and it's a little more clear of what the subcommittee or um, what the are we a subcommittee or just a committee?
I guess the policy is unclear on that because it says
So,
subcommittee some places and committee
Yeah, I
yeah,
others.
saw that.
this is, yeah, I haven't changed that component of the policy. That's the way that it was written.
Oh yeah, I think the whole body of the policy talks about committees in some places and subcommittees in the other. So I guess not open that can of worms.
Yeah, maybe we can just leave it to the policy committee to see if they want to leave subcommittee or just curriculum committee. But we can leave it to the policy committee to make a change there because that's more of a technical thing, not something that really affects our operations. But if somebody wants to make that motion to add that at the end of number five, we can vote on that and kind of move on here.
So
Can I
moved.
have a
So
point of
moved.
clarification? Is this committee supposed to be voting on things? Like, I thought that that committees like this, subcommittees, committees, and whatever we're calling this, like like a policy committee or the curriculum committee, I thought this is a working committee that doesn't vote on things, maybe has consensus on something or makes recommendations but doesn't vote.
Oh,
Yeah, we can recommend and vote on recommendations. You can always do that because there's got to be something other than consensus.
Yeah.
Because
And this is
consensus
not
is
a work,
essentially a vote.
this is not a working committee. This
Okay.
is a Board of Ed committee.
Okay.
And I've never seen the word sub before. So it's just the Board of Ed curriculum committee. It's not a working committee. That's different.
Okay. Yep. This is that's not again, I didn't change the policy. That was always there.
All right. Well, we know somebody that happens to be on the policy committee that's also on this committee, so maybe that person can can bring that up
Yeah.
and however you want to go forward with that. But just as far as and we're not even saying we have to make a vote. We're just saying make a recommendation. So
Yeah,
I
sure.
think
And I'm happy to
your
work with
concerns
Erica on
there,
that.
your concerns either way. We're just saying that the policy, just like we're doing today, we're looking over this policy and making some recommendations for modification. We're just saying with the curriculum, we're going to make recommendations for board action.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah, I think that's a good change.
yeah. So, all right. So, anyone want to make that motion?
I think Andrea did, and
I
I'll
did.
second it.
All right, Andrea first, Mike second, and to be clear, the language will be approximately depending on what the policy committee means, but the language will be after number five and make recommendation for board action so that it's clear, and then the policy committee can change that, but that's at least what we voted on. And all right, so all in favor?
Aye.
I
And I'm in favor. So, all right. So that change is unanimous. All right. All right. So and
Oh, I did want to say one more thing. I
oh
I
yeah,
knew I
yeah, go ahead.
knew I knew where in that September meeting where the proposal, like Anne-Marie's proposal to change the steps was in place. I did just go back and rewatch it because it's pretty short, and I can see her interpretation that what she's saying is to remove step three because and the argument after that was because the board will have final approval. My interpretation of that is final approval after the cow approved it, and I was thinking of the final approval to go and write it. But I can definitely see where Amory's saying that she was thinking final approval of the curriculum, like at the end, final end of the process. So I do see that as like my difference of interpretation of what was, and I had that interpretation at the meeting, and that's why we discussed it as we did. But I also will say it's great that we are pursuing this recommendation route because though we did have a discussion in curriculum, it was like we had varied opinions and not clear guidance coming out of our committee, and I think that also contributed to going into the policy committee and what happened further on.
Yeah. Yes. So we will try to have documents in front of us in the future. So we can refer back. But yeah, that when I actually re-listened to it twice, because I was still confused a little bit. So there was plenty of room for confusion.
Oh,
Um,
can we get that original that curriculum handbook document restored? I think it's just a linked document that's been edited since, but there was a lot of discussion that referenced that page 6, and like when I went back and watched, you can't follow along at home anymore. And I
Yeah, I
and
think
we
there
do
isn't.
we
Yep.
yeah we as a board, it's our responsibility at this point to have that document.
Yeah, the reason
um,
why we pulled it down, Mike, is because I think because this was in process, we didn't want to have a document out there that was going to be have some edits, obviously, to it. And I think that we anticipated, at least I anticipated, that the some of the edits were going to go through sooner than like a lot quicker. Then I didn't anticipate, for example, that there wasn't going to be a policy meeting in October and that November's was going to be delayed. So I just honestly, I anticipated that this whole process was going to be a lot quicker. And so I had asked Erica to pull it down because I thought that I was going to be able to make the edits to the curriculum document. And I didn't want teachers to be working off a document that would have changes to it that were going to happen quickly.
Oh, I understand that part in terms of the
Yeah.
life within the school system, but it has to have kind of that version that we had the meeting. This is a version control thing, but it's important in
Yeah,
terms of FOIA. That version, um, basically, there needs to be a separate link. That link has to be static with what was discussed in the meeting. In this case, in particular, it kind of makes it impossible to follow the flow. My guess is that version
sure.
still
Yep.
exists. It just
Oh,
needs to
yes.
be it just needs to be linked back.
Yep.
Yeah.
yeah.
I'll work with
So
Eric on that for sure.
so yeah. So we'll just PDF that dated version and leave it and attach to the minutes or something like that,
I'll add a quick
or
aside.
somehow link it.
The FOIA thing, they really recommended every attached thing be a PDF because otherwise a person could request the actual Excel sheet or Word doc or Google Doc, and we'd have to provide it. I wasn't aware of that wrinkle, and just like a PDF is a lot cleaner to provide, and it doesn't have like the links beyond links that we often worry about.
Yeah, thank you for that. That's a good recommendation and something that I support. Just having having a link to a PDF, versus a Google Doc that could change in time. Um, all right. So any more discussion on curriculum development process?
No,
All right, so moving on. So this is the next item is committee recommendations for board discussion or action. So this I put in because the curriculum
Uh,
committee,
I'm
uh,
sorry, I think are we going over the tracker first, or is that am I out
well,
of order?
that's you're out of order, or
Oh, I apologize.
what's in the order for me after curriculum development was committee recommendations for board discussion or action.
Oh, my apologies.
So, so I put this on the agenda just because we talked about a lot of things um, in this committee in the last couple of months. I think we've had 3 months and 5 meetings or something like that. Um, no, 6 meetings in 4 months, I guess it is. Um, so I wanted to see if any committee members wanted to make any motions to send anything to the board. And I've got one thing that I was thinking about specifically. But I was thinking about two things, but the discussion tonight limited that down to one thing. But does anybody else have anything that they would like to send to the full board for discussion?
And this is based on what we've spoken about in sort of recent meetings. Is that the idea?
That's what my intent was, but that's not the way the item was written. So we can so if you've got a new item that you want to discuss or send to the board for discussion, you could make that recommendation now.
I'll let you go first. I've got one that may or may not be like part of our purview.
All right. All right. So the one that I was thinking about was the weighting of quality points, but I think unless other members feel that that should go to the full board for more discussion, I think I'll kind of lay off that because I think we had some good discussion on that tonight, and I do appreciate all of that time, and I know it was a lot of work to put that together. Um, but one recommendation I would like to make is to make a motion to recommend that the board consider additional offerings in American Sign Language based on our discussion and family and student desire for more ASL. All right, so I'll make that motion if anyone wants to second it.
I'll second that.
All right. Um, so discussion.
Yeah, I just have a quick one. I found that foreign language survey, I think is maybe, was it 2022 or 2019? I can't remember. It was a while ago. Um,
Yeah, it was March 2022, I believe.
yeah, I think that'd be informative to do again because the language offerings have changed since then, and and of course students have changed too, and there's introduction of languages earlier. I think that it might I imagine there'll still be interest in ASL, but it's probably because there's another question that came out just recently. I think it was in a regular board meeting about the kind of struggles fitting language time in at the elementary level, which I hadn't been aware of. And so it might ASL might be the core of what we're talking about, but it might actually go into like what is the balance of language offerings that we should which offer. I'm supportive of this motion, but I think as good information for it would be a new survey.
Yeah, I think that's a good thought in um to have more information. Yeah, because ASL is the thing that sticks out to me, but there was a lot of other stuff in there that could be discussed by the full board. Anne Marie, if we wanted to ask the administration to do another survey, would that be something that the full board would have to ask for in your thoughts?
I'd have to look into that a little bit. some of it is gonna, I mean, I think we could do it. I don't think it's gonna be that difficult to do. Some of it is gonna have to do with timing, because as you know, students begin selecting their courses like, I think like January or February, at least at the secondary level. And if we were to put out a survey and then get the results and then have, be able to like take action, say, for example, the survey results come back and something is drastically different, right, than what we currently offer. Like, say that the survey results come back and the families and the students are in alignment that they want to take a language that we currently don't offer, and it would have staffing implications and budget implications. It wouldn't be something that I anticipate that we would be able to, like, just as long as people understand, we wouldn't be able to like mobilize on it for next year. That might have to require some planning, and that kind of, it would require some planning.
Yeah, and I think the March timing was probably to get parent involvement, is because I think that's when at least the elementary schools have the parent teacher conferences, and so that seemed, and it could be the same exact survey questions. Actually, probably be valuable to be the same ones. I think as a board we could discuss it before that happened, and then follow up afterwards. I'd be fine with that too.
Yeah, that sounds reasonable. So we could just make a little bit more of a general thing, like a motion that the board can consider foreign language offerings, and then just bring some of this stuff up for discussion. And
Maybe language offerings. I misspoke when I said foreign
oh
language.
yeah, I guess we should.
Yeah.
So I guess ASL is English, although we call it American, but
It's American, but it is a totally different language. So
Yeah.
it's not
It does
English.
fall under the world language umbrella, right, currently through the State Department of Ed, although I don't know if that's, technically the correct. It does fall under world language right now in terms of credits.
So how about if we say I can just withdraw that motion, if I were to withdraw that motion and then make a new motion to say recommend that the board consider world language offerings. So leave it just kind of vague. Does that sound?
Yeah, that'd be okay. I mean, you could even sharpen it a bit. Current and future language offerings. It kind of leads you down that path, and would lead to like motivation for a survey. And this is just coincidence, but today I happened to move a book around, and it was the Barron's Ultimate Guide to ASL. I didn't know we had that. I didn't know we had that at our house, but I just found it today.
Yeah, that's funny.
I'm not offering to teach the course. I do have the book.
All right. Yeah, my kids teach me some stuff. It's pretty entertaining. But all right. So I will just withdraw that last motion if you feel like withdrawing the second.
Yeah, I'm gonna second whatever you end up with.
All right. So
if Andrea
all right.
doesn't beat me.
All right. I'm going to make a motion to recommend that the board consider current and future world language offerings.
Second.
All right. We'll give that one to Andrea because I did hear her voice.
Yeah, she got me.
I'm sorry. I'm
No,
sorry.
great.
No, I'm going to pass. Give it to Mike. Give it to
No,
Mike.
it's definitely you. You got me.
All right. So, all right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I'm in favor. So, all right. All in favor. All right. Anything else?
I've got one. I was really kind of both impressed and struck by the discussion about like basically the AP scores, the IB scores, and the ECE credits. And it's clear the ECE credits, the dual enrollment credits. That's quite a quite a success. I wonder if in the context of the board, it would be good to discuss the overall performance of the areas of strength and weakness in the AP and IB scores. I think it's important information, and I'm wondering. I don't think would be there yet. But I'm wondering if it would help kind of tailor future choices of course offerings. So that's my broad area. I'd have to hone it down. That's where I wasn't sure it was totally within our purview. I mean, we can talk about the information at committee reports, of course, um, but I was wondering what we do to the board that wouldn't just make everyone present the exact same thing again.
Mike, I want to remind you that, or maybe that as a part of the schools and their reporting on school performance, the Fish High School will be coming to the board, to the full board, to present their student performance information, similar to how the elementary schools have been presenting their Smarter Balance results. And I'm anticipating that the high school will have a very similar, if not almost identical, presentation to what they've presented to this committee just a few weeks ago.
Oh yeah, that's a very good point. We'll get that pretty soon. And then is there like a school improvement plan? Would that be part of it where they'd, if they so chose, kind of restructure or modify AP/IB offerings in light of the scores? And I will emphasize that it did in that meeting that that's only one metric of utility of and success of a course.
Yeah, so they also have a school improvement plan. In fact, the one thing I believe that they didn't present that, the other schools, of course, did, they didn't present their state testing data, which in this case would be the SAT. I can ask the Fish leadership team to incorporate that information, in which case their school improvement plan, of course, would have modifications based on that, and likely their other performance data like the AP and IB exams, or probably not the ECE information. Although, maybe they have some information about how they want to expand offerings, or, maybe tailor their offerings a little bit differently. So we certainly can ask Matt and his team to incorporate that information into their presentation to the board.
Yeah, so we as a committee could, I mean, that's in our purview, as far as curriculum, I think. So we as a committee could just, if you've got some specifics that you want to just make sure are included with that presentation, we can just talk about that, the specifics that you want, and we could approve it. And we could even just put it into the existing presentation so it doesn't have to add to an agenda item for the board, which I think would be great. So do you want to just make so I wrote down board discussion and strengths and weaknesses of high level course offerings. Is that about what you were looking for, Mike, or is it something a little bit more specific?
Yeah, that might be good. I mean, if we lasered in on just the performance, we could just say discuss the student performance on AP and IB tests and leave it clean like that. At least that'd be like we've heard it at this point as a committee, but maybe it's good for the board to hear that. Like that would be a clear kind of closed-ended discussion. I mean, if we wanted it broader, then I could envision adding uh, you know um, AP and IB course offerings as they relate to student performance on AP IB tests.
My point of clarification, are you interested in the SAT information as well?
Oh, I'm sure we'll get that. And actually,
Oh, okay.
I want to say that's given every year, and it's in the report card to the state.
Right.
And actually, performance on that is, to my thinking, that's like our core measurement of our kind of our core responsibilities. Um, but this would be separate from that.
Okay. Okay. Just wanted to clarify. Good. And the nice thing about it is Fish has some good results this year to report, so I'm sure they'd be happy to speak about that.
So I guess if I make a motion, I just kind of make it clean, and I'd move that we recommend the board discuss student performance on AP and IB tests. Just leave it at that.
Sorry, I'm just typing this. Move that the board discuss student performance on AP and IB tests. That's what the motion is. Did I get that right?
Yes.
All right. I will second that. All right. Any other discussion? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. And I'm in favor. All right. So
I've got a procedural question. I've never been clear on this.
yeah.
This would essentially be a cow discussion, committee of the whole. We're effectively trying to refer something to the committee of the whole, but then I guess I guess you would as the chair of the committee then email the board chair. Actually, if you do it tonight, we know who it is for sure. That
Yeah.
that we're referring these two things to Cal, and that would be that, or
I'm
would
just going to
something
say
different
we're
happen?
referring it to the board, and I'll let the chair make a decision on which meeting to put them in.
They'll send it right back to curriculum.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I'll make the yeah. I'll send these two items to the chair and then with the curriculum modifications, yeah, I'll send them to the chair for, saying that we voted, all in favor on both of them. Is there any, well, before I get off this one, is there any other discussion under committee recommendations for board discussion or action?
No.
I would just say for if either of those do go forward, that like it is a strengths and challenges discussion, and it's okay to like it doesn't take away from our strengths to talk about some of the challenges, but it should be balanced and get full credit for instance the number of people taking an AP course or how many people get biliteracy certificates or seal of biliteracy. That we tend to focus in on like what we still need to do because we want to help move things forward, but know where we're starting at may well be a good place in some cases.
All right. All right. Yeah, that's that sounds good. And I think that well, hopefully that second one we can just throw in when Matt Brown is presenting to the board, because I'm sure he spent enough at least he spent a fair amount of time with us this fall so far. So all right. So moving on to the review the referral tracking sheet. So we will go to am I looking at the right one? I've got one in front of me that says revised October 14th. Yes, that's the right one. All right.
Yeah, I have that same one, and if you don't mind, I'm just projecting on the screen, Adrian.
All right. All right. Let's start from, are we okay with starting from the bottom and working up?
Yes.
Just because it seems like that one, it'll be quicker starting off that way at least. So
Maybe we should talk about that at some point. I don't know about tonight, but
all right.
Go ahead.
All right. So date completed. And I guess I can talk to Bev about this or whoever the chair is next month. And on whether we could actually check these off of curriculum or if it has to be the full board. But we'll for tonight's purposes, we're going to write in dates on the things that we think were done. So, are we in agreement that we sufficiently discussed it, awarded quality points?
Yes, and I can see why you're starting from the bottom up. I like how this is going to go.
I feel like it's going to go quicker. So you're in favor of saying that we've adequately discussed that, Mike. How about you, Andrea?
Yes,
All right, yes, and I'm in favor of that as well. So we'll put in 12-1-25. Um, mastery-based assessment and credit reduction. I don't think have we gotten to that? Oh,
To
yeah,
me,
yeah, that's
to me,
reducing
I feel
credits
like we
from
sort of
25.
did.
All right, yeah, no, we did. We talked about that. So I'm going to go with your date, Anne
yes,
Marie. 10, well, all right. Does everyone feel that we adequately discussed that as a committee?
yes.
Mike?
Yes.
All right, and I do as well. All right. Discussion, the number of credits for high school graduation. Is that kind of the same thing?
I think this
Yes,
was the other policy that just went through first read. We talked about the graduation requirements and how we're going to change it, proposing to change it a few years out to
They
reduce
were
the
on the
total
same
number.
agenda.
Yeah,
They were on the same agenda, which is why the dates are the same.
yeah,
Yeah, well, that's credit reduction is the same thing as reducing number of credits, right?
Yes.
All right, so that's so that these are kind of on the thing twice, but I guess if everyone's in favor, we'll put it as the same date, 10/22. So, are you in favor, Andrea?
yes.
Checking that one off, Mike.
yes, and that's the only MW on there. So just
All
want to
right,
point that out.
all right. I'm in favor of that as well. All right, so that one's off. Math curriculum ongoing. Um, we can put it's ongoing, but why don't we put we'll put dates of discussion maybe in the subject because that column just says date completed. Does that sound all right? Or
Yeah, I like that because at least then we're not trying to remember because we are. This is going to be ongoing. As pointed out, a lot of the curriculum needs a look, right?
all right, so we'll make it discussed on 4/4 and 11/24 by the BOE. But it's ongoing for curriculum. So we'll just put those notes into the subject that Anne Marie has written afterwards. All right. 2024-34 discussion of IB, Ian Thomas. Well, I don't think we've done that one. I would need to talk to Ian exactly about what he had in mind, but we haven't had that specific, so we'll leave that one on the tracker for right now. This one, I know there's been back and forth on whether we had enough discussion on it. But now I'm up to 2024-23 discussion of, or it's honors classes beyond the 10th grade. That was last September that was referred. We did talk about that. I don't know that we as a committee came to any conclusions on it. I guess this could have been, this could have been like a motion or to send it back to the board. We didn't at that time. We still could. I guess I'll ask either Mike or Andrea, do you want to have more discussion on this, or do you feel like we discussed it well enough?
Hmm. I don't know what conclusions we came to. I guess I don't know. Mike, where are you on that?
Yeah, I don't think we came to a conclusion. I mean, I believe Ian Thomas was looking for more honors courses beyond the 10th grade. And in some tracks they exist, in some tracks they don't. And it's clear at Fitch right now and in other high schools around the state that the movement is towards things like dual enrollment. Those numbers are increased and actually they're quite impressive. So, but we didn't come to any conclusion. We did discuss it. Um,
Yeah, and I mean, we could leave it on there as just something that we're going to keep, thinking about, and so we can either leave it on there or we can, put. I guess it was last January. Was it? I thought it was a little later in the year that we discussed it, but maybe it was January. Um, but
Well,
so if we feel like we discussed it enough as a committee for right now, or where it can just come up again later if need, you know, we can do
well,
that. Or
personally, I think we should leave it, that we should take it off. And because I think we had a very full discussion on it, and we're going to talk about it at the board again, right? Uh, unless I'm wrong.
Well,
Um,
I don't. If we wanted to talk about it as a board, we would need to send it as a board because it's on the curriculum
yeah,
agenda, not on the full board agenda.
I'd be
Um,
in favor of marking as complete because we definitely discussed it.
yeah,
all right,
I agree.
all right. So I will agree with that, and we will put that as completed on 116.5. All right, all right. Integrated. The next one up is -22. Integrated financial literacy update. I should have gone back and looked at the
If you recall, Melissa Manzioni came and did a presentation on personal finance and all the things that they're doing in that class. It's a new class that's required by the State Department of Ed. It's a point 0.5 credit. She came and did an extensive presentation for our curriculum committee. And if you'd like me to, I can resend the presentation to all of you.
Yeah, and I thought it was extensive too. I remember Matt Schulman um, was looking for something broader, like a total look at everywhere financial literacy could be put in the curriculum, and I can understand that. But I mean, we did have a pointed discussion and very informative discussion about personal finance, at least. So I'm in favor of marking that as complete. And see if there is more appetite to talk more broadly, then it can be referred to again.
7.
I agree.
All right, give me just 1 second. I just want to pull up. I'm just going to take a quick scan of the minutes. All right. Yeah. All right. It's in the minutes. So from that meeting. So I'm comfortable with going with that. So that we completed on 4/7, April 7th, 2025. All right. So the next one up was me, 24-12, discussion of the foreign language series survey. So yeah, I feel that we talked about that. We've made some action on it, so we can take it off our list for now, if everyone else is in agreement on that.
Okay.
Unless you just want to change it from X years ago, since I advocated for a new survey.
It should have been. Well, the reason I wrote from 2 years ago is because that survey wasn't available. The only place I could find it was in the video of the meeting, and then those videos were missing for like a year. So, we couldn't get them on YouTube because of the whatever the changeover or something. So that's why I wrote 2 years ago because I couldn't find the actual document. So, but yeah, anyway, we talked about that on November 3rd. So,
And those videos are now up. So
they are.
to the delight of the entire internet.
Yeah, I know it got one more view because I watched it before our November meeting again. But but yeah, so I'm in favor of removing that if everyone else is.
Fine. Yes.
All right. Discussion of reading and writing K5. So I think again, in my own opinion, we should put the COW under the subject as, as kind of an update. But I don't think we've, in my own opinion, have completed that in curriculum.
We did not complete it in curriculum. If you remember, Chairman Washington asked for that to be moved, similar to the update that I did for math. She asked for that to be moved to the committee of the whole so that the full board could see it. But Sarah Beth Stonona, who is our elementary literacy person, came and did a extensive presentation to the committee of the whole on wit and wisdom and the science of reading and all of the work with the year one implementation last year in at the end of April. And again, I can, if you need to see that presentation, I may have it, but if not, I can make sure that I secure that from her and share it with this committee.
Yeah, I remember that
Yeah,
presentation too. But I would keep this one as ongoing just because of the wit and wisdom. By nature, we're gonna want to talk about this year two, etc.
Sure.
Sure.
I think that's fair.
yeah,
Ongoing with that note. I like that date discussed idea. So
yeah. So if we can, we'll just leave that on the tracker. That's my opinion of it anyway. That attachment is, I just pulled up the minutes, and you can get to that presentation in the minutes. So it's linked through. So you don't have to look that up, Anne Marie. All right, and Dr. Ackerman, how did you feel on that?
Fine.
All right, fine with leaving it as not completed but ongoing.
Sure.
All right,
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
all right,
I'd be fine with anything.
all right. It's getting late, so
Yes,
this
it
might
is.
be our longest meeting so far. So we'll try to get through the rest of it quickly. All right. It doesn't develop a schedule for curriculum updates. All right, that one we just haven't done yet. That is something that we should talk about at some point. But program of studies for GMS, and this is old. Do we know who made that referral? Review program of studies for GMS
No.
and Fitch.
I don't know who made it, but I can say that in looking through past minutes for something else, Dr. Piazza, the previous assistant superintendent, did at least go through the Fitch program of studies and make sure things were aligned in terms of every course in there had been approved by curriculum and like look for consistencies or inconsistencies. But that stuff kind of creeps in every few years anyway, and there's always a bit of sometimes there's a bit of thatching out that needs to happen after a while. Supply consumer demand sometimes changes. So I'd like to keep that one in and do that sometime. So I'd like to keep it on myself.
I think we have on the schedule, Adrian, if you look at our tentative agenda items, that is, or for this year, I believe that is, those two are on the agenda for later this year, usually around the time, I believe around the time that those documents are published for students to review.
All right, yeah, all right. I'm looking at it now. Yeah, you have that in January.
Mhm.
Program of studies. All right, so we will leave that one. But if Anne Marie, if you have any way of searching, I know Joan's really good at this, but or Joyce, I should say, but searching the minutes and finding out if we've already talked about that ahead of that, that would be great. So board members could review,
You
previous
mean
discussions.
previous years?
Yeah, so if Dr. Piazza talked about it a year or two ago, if we've got any dates on that, if she can find anything, that would be great just to know. So we could kind of look back at the history of this because this is kind of an old one.
Okay, I'll ask Joyce to do that. Thank you.
All right. And then this one, Dr. Ackerman's review of the English language arts curriculum in writing
Well,
in 6 to
yeah, here's the
12.
thing. Here's the thing. Emery, I don't know where we ever got with that because I remember meeting with you and with I can't think of her name, but I can see her face in front of me. Lori? Lauren? no, who's the,
I
she's at the
believe
middle
probably
school.
Laura.
Yes. And I remember that we were talking about it and we were going to move forward on something and we never moved forward. And but I was talking with somebody's who would be knowledgeable, and the, what I heard was that there's not a real consistency of approach to writing at the middle level. So I,
So I think
I would like,
what I'd like to. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry, Dr. Ackman.
I'll just finish my sentence. What I'd like to do is kind of sit down with Anne Marie again, just the two of us, like, and bring me up to date, on where we are with this. And then maybe after that meeting, I, I could make maybe Anne Marie could talk about it, and then I could make a more informed recommendation about this particular one.
Yeah,
How,
and
how do
if
you
I
think
can
about
share
that?
with the full with this, I absolutely. I always like talking with you, Dr. Ackerman, especially about English. Two former English teachers. I never turned down that opportunity, but I'd like to share with this board that based on the discussion that took place during that particular board meeting, I was a little concerned with the status of our uh, writing curriculum, not so much at the high school level, but at the middle school level. And I think that that was your area of concern as well, Dr. Ackerman. So,
Yes.
so I have been working with the middle school team, and they are in need of a new core resource similar to the elementary school, the K-5. They are still using the Readers and Writers Workshop, which, as we know now, is antiquated resource. And so I'm working with them to review new materials, and they are piloting one resource this year. They're also exploring, I believe, actually on December the 8th, they'll have a second presentation. In January, they'll have a third. And hopefully, depending upon costs and some other factors, I'll be able to move forward and make a recommendation to first to this committee and then to the full board for a new, more comprehensive and rigorous, more complete resource for that middle school team that I believe that everybody will be more satisfied with, and that would maybe meet the requirements of this particular, I guess you would call it, referral.
And Emery, would it be appropriate for me to sit in on those meetings that you were just mentioned?
Oh, sure, sure. Some of them are going to be, I believe one of them is going to be in person, the upcoming ones. One's going to be in person and one is going to be online. And I'll have to check for you, Dr. Ackerman, if the one coming up in December is in person or online. I can't
Okay.
remember which is which, but I will make sure that you have that information.
Oh, great. Okay. I would love to sit in on that, just to listen, even if it's just to listen, to keep my mouth shut. But um, yeah, I would like to be just to know that.
Yeah, I'd
Okay.
love to have you be a part of it. I will let everybody know one of the resources that we're looking at, and it just makes sense, is Wit and Wisdom for grades 6 through 8. In order to, it's kind of similar to what we're looking at for mathematics in terms of illustrative math for K through 8. One of the resources that we're looking at is extending, just as we have Wit and Wisdom K through 5, uh, as a possible resource, extending that resource through grades 6 through 8, so that there is some coherence in through the grade levels. Now, again, we haven't made the selection yet. They're going to come in and present to the middle school team, but it's one of the options that they thought to consider.
So, um, you know, I'm going to leave here back to the 19 or 2018. And I said, yeah, I did say that right. Um, I wonder if we could, you know, kind of change the date on that so that not just change the date and lie about it, but like maybe put, I'd like to get a more recent date that it doesn't look like it's something that's hanging around for 7 years that it's really something that's ongoing, and now we'd like to pursue it, and maybe make a recommendation to pursue the review of English or continue the review of English. You know what I'm saying, Adrian and all.
Yeah, so what about so we did discuss it on March 3rd. But I do remember at the end of the meeting the discussion wasn't really over. So how about if we just put a new referral so we can make that one completed and put a new referral? So I think your big concern was seventh and eighth grade, right, Andrea?
Yes, well,
Yeah, so
yeah,
maybe we
seventh
can
and
make
eighth,
a new
yeah.
referral that says
Oh,
review of ELA curriculum 6 to 8.
um, yes. Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Um, and then that'll kind of narrow that topic down. We can get the
Yes,
2018 off the agenda.
yes, yes,
Um, so we can, if we all agree, we can say we talked about that, and then we will talk about so review of ELA writing 6 to 8.
yes. I don't know. I thought, I think that at some level, we decided to just look at the middle level, and this just never got changed. I think maybe I'm wrong, Emery, but isn't that why Lauren was
I
Lauren or
remember
Yes.
Laura?
that too.
Yes, and
Yeah,
I think if I remember correctly, you were particularly concerned with eighth grade, and that's why you wanted to speak
yes,
with Laura as well.
yes, that's exactly right. So that, Adrian, thank you. That's perfect.
All right. Um, 3 8. I'm just gonna look at that. I thought we talked about yeah, we did talk about 6 to 8 in that meeting. Um, oh, and then all right, yeah, and then McKenna explained ELA at the high school. So we did talk about the high school in that meeting. So yeah, it looks like we got through the whole thing. That's just looking
Yeah,
back at the minutes. So yeah, if everyone's in favor, we can just put that was completed in March 3rd, and then we'll just add a new agenda item. Should we put today's date on that?
yes,
All right,
in my view.
12/1/25. I'm in favor of that as that deletion or completion, I should say,
Mm.
and addition of a new one that's a little bit more targeted. How do you feel about that, Mike?
I'm good with it.
Me too.
All right. So any other comments on the referral tracking sheet?
No, not for me.
All right. All right. Onward. Future meeting topics. I already said I had it up a minute ago. Our next meeting looks like it's going to be program of studies. And then we won't get too specific out of that because it's a long way, but we're going to be talking about illustrative math. I think we've been talking about that as the full committee as well, um, or the full board as well. But that's what we've got coming up for future meeting topics. Any other recommendations for meeting topics? I guess
Well,
that
why
would
don't
go.
we put the new one, this new one on, the new recommendation?
All right, yeah, we can put it there as well, so it gets captured in the right spot. Um,
I may need more time as the teachers are, as I said, we have the two groups or the two kind of resource companies coming in to present, and the teachers are piloting, just starting to pilot materials. So they may need more time before making a decision and, having input um, into the resource that they are, leaning toward, and so I may not, January, I think is going to be too early for me to talk about that.
About
about
which one, the cricket or the like the writing at the middle level?
Yeah, the middle
Yeah,
school writing.
oh
you're
yeah,
reading my
well,
mind because I'm thinking, well, it just said future meeting topics. It didn't say next meeting topic.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
yeah, we're we're just going to put that at the bottom of the referral tracking sheet, and we'll stick with, January and February, well, we'll see how it goes, but it looks like it'll be program of studies and then illustrative math. But we'll see how things go together. Sometimes we end up losing one of those meetings because of the budget, but that'll be the future topics. All right. Any other?
Yeah, can we also just put in that robotics course, the high school robotics course that they talked about in connection with the manufacturing center? I assume it's going to come through reasonably soon anyway, but maybe put it on like maybe the February meeting, and if it needs to be pushed. But if they really do want that in up and going, it's kind of I don't know if it could get through actually, but it seems like they want to fast track that, and it already has a curriculum apparently.
All right, yeah, let's just put that in the tracking sheet, and then we can leave it to Anne Marie to figure out how soon she wants to talk about it after talking to the.
Okay.
All right, so that'll just be another referral on the tracking sheet for 12/1/25.
I don't know if that has to be an official referral. I mean, if you want to be a referral, that's fine. But if it's really just a course approval, I will track down, I will speak with the leadership team at Fitch, find out, is this going to be a course that's offered officially next year? If it's a course that's already written, obviously that's going to be a much faster process for the course to get approved. Not approved, but for the course to kind of go through the process, the curriculum writing process, because it doesn't have to be written. So it's really just a matter of me kind of working with the team and really just finding out, is it going to be offered next year? And then who's going to come and present it?
Yeah, I like that approach. Just as long as it's on our radar screen.
All right. All right.
Now,
Any other discussion on future meeting topics? All right, Andrea, you're up.
motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right.
Good
Thank
night,
you,
everyone.
everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
All
Thanks.
right. All right. Good night. Thank you.